Ratings. A simple concept that allows people to express their opinion of a film in a straightforward way. Well, it should be straightforward. If someone gives a film a 10 out of 10, you would assume they absolutely loved it, right? Right? Now, before we go to the numbers, I should point out that how I rate films is purely down to my subjective experience. Did I like the film or not? As simple as that. I don't take into account what everybody else thinks about the film, how many awards it's got, how many film festivals it got selected, etc. My rating is purely if I liked the film or not, and how much I liked or disliked it. When people try to review objectively, I find people quickly become inconsistent. I also find people's objective review on a film isn't constructed by the film itself, but what other people have said about it. Could be a critic, a film teacher, an acclaimed director. If social media, particularly film Twitter, tells you a film sucks, chances are the person's watching a film trying to figure out why it sucks, rather than judging the film on its own merit. So when I review a film, I give it a rating, and I base it on what I know I like about the film, what I know I didn't like, what I know I loved, what I hate, etc. Therefore, I like to think my rating is the most accurate interpretation to represent my experience with that film. To give a simple breakdown of how I see the numbers, if I give a film a 0 out of 10, that means I thought it was unwatchable. Couldn't finish the film, absolutely unwatchable, it was painful to watch. So 0 out of 10, unwatchable. 1 out of 10, terrible. 2 out of 10, poor. 3 out of 10, bad. 4 out of 10, below average. So there were some parts of the film that I liked, but overall was disappointed. As in, I thought I was going to like this film, and again, there were some moments that I could have enjoyed, but overall, below average. Then 5 out of 10 is okay, or average. 6 out of 10 is fine. It's fine. It's fine film. 6 out of 10, fine. 7 out of 10, good. 8 out of 10, great. 9 out of 10, incredible. 10 out of 10, masterpiece. Is that straightforward? Yeah? Does that make sense? That's straightforward, yeah? Right? Yeah? Straightforward? Cool. And it's straightforward that the 10 out of 10 score should be between 0 to 10. Or I'll give you between 1 to 10 if you prefer. Because there needs to be limits to these scores, otherwise it'll be never ending, so it will lack meaning. But then some people rate a film a -1 out of 10. And I disagree with that score. Again, not if the film deserved -1 out of 10, the actual -1 out of 10 score. 0 out of 10, or 1 out of 10 if you prefer, should be the lowest score. Because you stop at 0. You go into the minuses, where do you stop? You can go -12, -78, -34,534. Then on the other side, 10 out of 10 should be the highest score you can give. Literally, it is 10 out of 10. So you can't do 11 out of 10 because it makes the 10 out of 10 meaningless. Because why stop at 11 out of 10 when you can go 12 out of 10, 78 out of 10, 34,334 out of 10? Now I understand a point of, well, this film was the best film I've ever seen, so I had to go above and beyond, to infinity and beyond, beyond and beyond and beyond to the beyond, and give it 11 out of 10. But it makes the 10 out of 10 score seem lesser than it should be. 10 out of 10 should be the best score you can give when you're using a 10 out of 10 system, in my humble opinion. But never mind numbers outside a 10 out of 10 scale. People use the numbers between 0 to 10 very, very differently. For example, the 7 out of 10 rating. If I give a film a 7 out of 10, I liked the film. I thought it was good. But if I give a film a 5 or a 6 out of 10, I still liked the film. I just didn't thought it was as good. I thought it was okay, or fine. But if I give a film a score between 5 to 10, that means I liked the film. But other people are different. If a film is not a 7 out of 10 for some people or above, they didn't like the film. So to clarify, they only like a film if they give it a 7 out of 10 score or above. But I think that's a raise of the 5 and the 6 out of 10 score. Sometimes you watch a film and maybe it wasn't as good as you expected, or not everything worked for you, but you still liked it. That's what the 5 and 6 out of 10 score is. Well, that's what it is for me. But as I thought about it, I think how people view 7 out of 10 is how people view school grades, especially in the UK. Well, when I was a kid in the UK, because they changed the grades from letters to numbers, and I won't go down with the kids today, so I'll stick with the letters. The grades go A star, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Well, actually it was a U back in my day for ungraded, but F for fail. F is more well known, so let's just stick with that one. And while anything above an F meant you passed the test, a C grade was a proper you passed the test. As schools, colleges, universities and employers would often require you to get a C or above when it comes to your grades. For example, if you're applying for a job after you finish school, they're most likely going to require you to have at least a C in maths or in English or in both. So I wonder if people knowingly or subconsciously use that logic when giving a film a 7 out of 10. While a 5 or a 6 out of 10 is not awful, it's not as valuable to them. Then there are the decimal points. Or if you really are unique, and there's nothing wrong with that, we're all unique in our own special way. Fractions, if you prefer to use fractions over decimals. So yeah, let's discuss these decimals, these decimal points, these numbers with decimal points and decimals and decimals and decimals in their score out of 10. Let's discuss them. For me, I would only add 0.5 or a half point for my scores if I can't decide between two scores. For example, if I thought a film was more than good but less than great, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. But I would not use any other decimal numbers, which is not the same for others. People use decimals such as 0.4, 0.2, 0.7, 0.83094387762 recurring. And I don't get it. Because what does a 7.4 score mean? What does it mean? Like I said, 7 out of 10 for me means I thought the film was good. A 7.5 would mean it's halfway between good and great. But what does 7.4 mean? You could say 7.4 means it's 0.4 more than good. But how can you scale that? Oh, I give it a 6.8 because it's closer to a 7 than a 6. Yeah, but how do you know to pick 0.8 and not 0.7 or 0.9? But I do try to understand how people rate films differently. Now, I don't accept the thought process of, I gave this film a 7 out of 10, but I like this film more, so I'll give it a 7.2 out of 10. Because I think scores should be solely based on the film. The score should not be affected by another film. Because the people who made that film you're given a score to had no control over the other film you're thinking about. So a film should be judged solely on its own. However, a friend of mine says the main number is their score of how objectively good the film was, then the decimals is how much they liked the film on the entertainment scale. For example, a 7.8 out of 10 score would mean they thought it was, objectively a good 7 out of 10 film, but they found it really entertaining on a subjective level, so they give it that 0.8, so 7.8 altogether. Then another idea I thought was maybe the decimals represent adverbs. So adding 0.7 to a 7 out of 10 score is saying the film was really good, and adding 0.2 to a 7 out of 10 score is saying the film is quite good. But then if the 7 out of 10 means the film is good and quite good is less than good, then surely the score should be less than 7? You know what, let's go back to my friend's idea with his entertainment scale. That's the best reason to use decimals that is not just 0.5, it could be other decimals too. That's the best reason I've got so far. But for me, I'm just going to stick to my 0.5 because I just judge films subjectively anyway. But again, I respect how people judge films differently, even if you want to compare them to another film. I won't accept it, but I respect it. Does that make sense? Probably not, but neither does your score. No, we all like to judge films differently. Because what I find fascinating about all this is simply me and someone else can have the same thoughts towards a film and have completely different scores. Not only people think differently about films, they rate films differently too. People just be different, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, how do you rate films? What does a 10 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, or a 4.326457877024. Recurring. Out of 10 mean to you. So thank you for watching, and all the best.